Hi, good evening, and welcome to this evening's Facebook Live. I am Jody from Healing Journey. Check out my website at www.healingjourneyservices.com. So today I want to talk to you a little bit more about detox. So I think detox is misunderstood in the health world, in the public sector, in the commercial sector. I think oftentimes when we talk about detox, we're thinking, okay, let me do just a cleanse and then everything is going to be great. And that is not always the case. So with detox, there are a few things that you want to think about. So you want to think about the whole body. So when you're detoxing, you're not just looking at detoxing your gut. You're not just eliminating things from your eating for a couple of weeks and then going back to that. You are actually detoxing everything. So you're trying to get rid of toxins out of everything, and you're trying to do it as a lifestyle. So it's removal of unwanted toxins from the body, and it's also minimizing the exposure of toxins. So when we think about it, we live in a very, very toxic world. And I think that's why we're seeing such major health issues, such high rates of depression and anxiety, huge rates of gut issues today, is because everything is simply so toxic. So when we go back 100 years, yes, they had different health issues, but toxins were not one of them. So one of the challenges today is making sure that you're actually eliminating more toxins than you're putting into your body. And that's a pretty huge challenge because if you think about it, there's toxins in the food that you're eating. So if you're not eating organically grown food, you're going to have pesticides like glyphosate on it. And that is you're eating that. So that's going to add to your toxic load. Then let's talk about the air that we breathe. So indoor air is 4 to 5 times more pollutant than outdoor air. Often, obviously, this depends on where you live. So there's toxins just being inside. When we go outside, there's also pollution in the air outside. For example, thallium toxicity because of gasoline from cars. So right there, we're getting toxins. Then we talk about toxins in our water. I just did a video on water. Check it out if you want to talk about all the toxins that are in our water. And then there's also toxins that we put on our skin. So all of a sudden, these toxins that might have been really little, you think, oh, well, it's just it's just non-organic food. Like, what does that matter in the grand scheme of things? But when you start to think about all of the ways that we have exposure to toxins, and I didn't even touch on it, we can also talk about dry cleaning. We can talk about permanent pressed tops and the toxic material that they put on that. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on with exposure to toxins. And so that adds up. And especially depending on your genetics, so if you have methylation issues based on your genetics, if you have detox issues, if you're not, you have some deletions in your GST genes, then you're not going to be able to detox very well. And so those are the people that we're starting to see get sick because that overload on the body is just too much for the body to take, and it has to give somewhere. So it's very, very important. And so I'm just going to share actually my screen with you here. And what I want to share with you is, how do I share my screen? There we go. So I'm just going to share with you these stats just because they're so powerful. So these are facts about toxins in the States. So US produces or imports the equivalent of 250 pounds of chemicals per person per day. That's probably more than you weigh a day produced in chemicals. Gross. Out of close to 85,000 chemicals being used in the US, only a few hundred have been properly reviewed. And in Canada, over 4,000 chemicals have not been studied. And then research has shown that over 287 chemicals in a newborn's umbilical cord. Let's just take a pause here. So before the baby leaves a woman's body, they already have this insane amount of exposure. We're wondering why autism rates are so high. My guess would be this is contributing. According to Environmental Protection Agency, the average person has over 700 chemicals in their bodies, while babies have an average of 70 chemicals. So these are things that are not natural to us, and so obviously they're going to start to create some pretty major health issues. So I just wanted you to be aware of that, because I think it is really important that we start to think about detox a little bit differently. So, drinking green juice is great. I do not want to discourage you from doing that. But I think that there's a lot more that can be done when we talk about detox. And so today I actually wanted to talk about, the Dirty Dozen endocrine disruptors just a little bit. And also what we put on our skin. So what we put on our skin is huge. And especially, men also use personal care products, but women use, way more than men do. And so this becomes a big issue, especially when you're talking about, you want that healthy glow to your skin, or you want clean skin. And then we go and we apply these chemicals that are actually furthering the issue or impacting our livers or affecting our gut health without really even thinking about it. So nasty chemicals to stay away from. This is another one. I'm just going to share my screen very briefly with you so that you get this list, because I don't want to repeat it because I probably can't pronounce them properly. Anyways, so sharing the screen here. Here's the list. So, this list could be a mile long, but these are the main ones. And I just want to draw your attention to one that I was surprised about, and that's in everything, and that is fragrance. So a lot of beauty care products have fragrance in it, and it's not something, I know before I read about this, I wasn't really thinking about fragrance, I'm going to stay away from that because it's so bad for me. But it's terrible. And the reason that it's so bad is that fragrance can actually contain up to 3,000 different chemical ingredients. But the company does not have to disclose what ingredients those are. And that is because it's a secret blend of ingredients. And so because it's proprietary, we don't know what's in fragrance, and they can be full of endocrine disruptors and full of different toxins that can be really, really terrible for the body. But nobody knows that. So check out your beauty products and see just how many of your beauty products have fragrance in them. The other thing that I found was really interesting is vitamin A. So, we think vitamin A is healthy, our bodies need it, how can this be bad? But retinol should actually, so this is a common name for vitamin A, it's found in moisturizers, huge in the anti-aging, skincare, lotions, that kind of thing. And the big issue with that is that sunlight causes the vitamin A to break down and form toxic free radicals. And so this is another major issue when it comes to health, especially if you're wearing these things during the day, thinking that, you're getting rid of wrinkles, but you're actually creating more free radicals, which is going to cause more oxidative damage to your body. So be careful if you have vitamin A brands, products with vitamin A in them. Another big one is parabens. We're starting to see this come out more, where you're getting things that are paraben free and sulfate free. So those are definitely brands that you want to gravitate towards. But I would like to challenge you that you can do even better than that, because even though something is paraben free and sulfate free, there are still other toxins in them as well. Coal tar is another one. So this is found in a lot of hair dyes. So in Canada, even though it's deemed toxic by Environmental Working Group, we still have it in Canada. It's deemed inappropriate only if you apply it around your eyes. So Environmental Working Group knows there's problems with a lot of these products. If you're curious about them, you can check out the Dirty Dozen, and you can also just read through different chemicals on the Environmental Working Group, and they will tell you specifically about how healthy or unhealthy these products are. The problem is Environmental Working Group does this amazing amount of research, and not a lot of it is applied to actual life. So Canadian and US government does very little to protect the safety of the consumer, which makes it up to you. And I can tell you, when I was doing a lot of research on healthcare products, it was very, very difficult for me to make sense of it all. You read the Environmental Working Group, that's great. Where's the research backing it up? Can I see it? Can I find it? Can I understand it? How do I know what Canada allows? How do I know what the US allows? It's super confusing. And so what happens is these brands market these things like MAC makeup and all these great, awesome products, but they're actually terrible for your body and for your skin. So, what are some alternatives? So I think it's really important that we have some alternatives, and you don't need to freak out and throw everything out at once and then have nothing to wash yourself with. Start small. So you can start with soaps. If you go into a health food store, there are awesome soaps in there, bars of soap, shampoos, those kinds of things that are organic or that have healthier ingredients in them. So that's a great way to start. Start with one product, try it out, figure out what works for you, and then continue to use it. Karinga, I think I'm saying that right. Organics does excellent shampoo and conditioner products. And then I also really like, I don't know if you can see it here, 100% Pure. So it's a fruit-based makeup, and it's the foundation that I use when I want something with good coverage. So again, that's another issue, we want to cover up skin issues, but we're covering up our skin issues with these products that are actually endocrine disruptors, which are unbalancing our hormones, which are then creating more skin issues. So 100% Pure is a really fantastic brand. You can get it shipped in from the States. And I like it because it doesn't have minerals in it. Because you can have mineral imbalances, I tend to stay away from mineral products, although those are definitely a healthier option than some of the more commercialized brands for makeup. So I will be doing another Facebook Live on beauty care, skin care, and other personal care products. But I just wanted to start to get you to think about what you're putting on your skin and to start reading the labels and to start realizing that these chemicals that you can't understand don't belong on our bodies. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I look forward to connecting with you again. Have a lovely evening.